Let me say right off the bat, some people have been hesitant about sending us messages on our phone number, which is 312-767-7943. 312-767-7943. Call us, leave a message, give us any input, would be great to hear. 312-767-7943. 312-767-7943. Or you can email us at fantcastpod@gmail.com. That's fantcastpod@gmail.com. Please let us know what you're thinking and send us any fantasies or ideas or comments or anything like that. Again, the phone number is 312-767-7943. You can keep it anonymous. We will not use your names. 312-767-7943. 312-767-7943. 312-767-7943.
Yeah, I think that's the hidden shame is the thing that's really keeping people from participating in that. They're afraid that we're gonna, put their sexual fantasies on blast. That's not the case. That's not the case at all.
That would be unethical.
Unethical, probably illegal.
312-767-7943.
Welcome to the Fantasy Cast podcast, where three grown men pass the time by sharing their deepest, darkest fantasies. Here we go.
Did you like seeing me the other day?
Yeah. You mean when you were in Chicago?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun. Really didn't like that guy who stopped and yelled at us. I think I know who who I'm talking about. This guy.
Yeah. We've got some unfinished business.
Yeah, this guy. We were at Lake Michigan, Montrose Beach.
Okay, so there we were. We're at the beach. We're in couldn't have asked for a better day. Overcast slightly, but not too bad. You can still see the sun coming through at times, but just enough cloud cover so it's not blazing hot. The water is very chill for our just beautiful, amazing, adorable daughters that are exploring the world and just having fun. And we take a nice little walk along the beach. Me and my young daughter, Mike, and his young daughter, and they're frolicking and playing, and we come upon some surfboards that belong to the beach. And, there's some rowboats and other things like that. I guess you can rent them, and people can rent surfboards for like windsurfing. Big, heavy-duty surfboards. And my curious daughter, and full of life and excitement, decides she wants to stand on top of the surfboard. And then Michael's, amazing, sparkling daughter,
light of my life,
steps on there too. And they decide that they want to pretend that they're surfing. The light of his life, just these innocent, adorable, wondrous children. And this fucking dude comes rolling up in like a dune buggy. It had to be like 300 pounds. Looked like a
describe him. What does a mental patient look like to you?
Pasty skin. The skin underneath his mouth and nose were red from like drooling and snot running down his face. Terrible skin.
Kind of like shoulder length hair. Kind of had like a Jack Black hairdo.
Yeah.
Black t-shirt, tight black t-shirt.
Dodgy eyes.
Yeah. He comes up to us.
He's waving his hands. He's throwing them. He's like, "You guys, you can't touch the surfboards. Please don't touch the surfboards."
He was like, "Whoa. They can't be on those. They can't be standing on those." Whoa. He was acting like these kids, my daughter and Nathan's daughter, who are 25, 30 pounds, are going to break these surfboards that are meant for grown men and women to be throwing themselves on top of, against the water, against the sea, Lake Michigan. And I was caught off guard. I nervously laughed like I usually do when I'm in a situation like that. I don't look at them. And I say, "Okay, Nora, let's go." I guess we have to go. You know what I mean? That kind of attitude. Cowardly, sure, on my part.
Yeah, I was like, "Sasha, we can't. Okay, we have to go." I said it. I felt like I said it with a little bit more sass, but still, no confrontation. Zero confrontation. There was a woman there with him who was clearly embarrassed by her coworkers' behavior. Heartless, rude behavior.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt really disappointed that
Felt bad
he
for her.
put her through that. But anyway, so we walk off, go back to enjoying the rest of our lives, having a great day at the beach, and just seething inside though. He couldn't stop talking about.
So fucking pissed. It was like a contest to see who was going to mention it first as we're walking away in silence. You just hear us walking in the sand. The kids run up front and they're
Skipping.
running ahead of us, playing with sticks, sword fighting, and like chasing seagulls around and stuff like that. And I look at Nathan and I just start laughing a little bit. You know what I mean?
We knew.
And it's like we look into each other's eyes and we both know this.
Yeah.
I'm never going to forget this person for the rest of my fucking life. Rest of my life, I'm never going to forget this son of a bitch that talked to me and my daughter like we were insane for stepping on a surfboard.
Just denying.
Like we're going to break the surfboard or my daughter's going to break the surfboard. I didn't even step on it. Or that my daughter's going to smash a canoe by sitting in it. Trying to scare us. Couldn't he have just said, I'm sorry, I can't have you guys messing with the boats. Thank you. Couldn't he have just said that instead of acting alarmed like we're trying to scare us and shame us? I'm stuttering. I'm so angry still. I have a piece of fabric in my hands right now that I'm like wringing. It's called a wringing fabric. Have you ever heard of this?
No.
You get a strong piece of fabric and you just wring it with your hands wherever you are,
Oh, I bet that feels great, yeah.
Just to deal with the stress of life. I take it with me when I go to sleep and I'm just wringing this in bed.
It's like a stress ball.
Yeah, my wife knows not to bother me, not to interrupt me when I have it in my hands. And I'll just be up at night just wringing it. My forearms are getting like so strong. It's actually a good workout too.
Yeah.
So anyways, there's a couple things I'd like to do to this guy.
The fantasies just start popping off right away. Like as soon as this guy was out of earshot, Mike and I just started just saying, I've already cooked up a bunch of fantasies in my head about what I would like to do to this guy. Denying my daughter an opportunity at joy and knowledge, So I don't know if do you want to pop off on what you want to do to this guy?
Well, I got a couple. First things, I got two of them. One's really simple and the other one's really complicated. First one, and I know it's gross and sick, but this is the first thing that came to my mind. I want to start to do a satanic ritual where I pin his hands down and feet down, staple him to a big altar, and there's a pentagram underneath them. There's candles and stuff, and we just cut him. A bunch of us cut him and rip his skin off and rip his heart out, show it to him.
Yeah.
Stuff like that, cut off his body parts and maybe numb part of his body parts and horror stuff like that. But whatever, we don't need to get into it. So you get the idea of that. Fantasy number 2 is a little more complicated. I befriend him. I get a job there. I obviously could get a job there in a second because I have a master's degree in fine art. So I would be hands down. They want me there. I'll work there. I'll do whatever they want. I'll be the best goddamn worker they've ever seen in their fucking lives because I'm also now treating people rude on the beach. So I get there. I befriend them. I say, hey, all's water under the bridge. I start a friendship with this guy. I start taking an interest in him. I let him talk. One of those things where you just let the other person talk. They never ask you a question about themselves. It's all about them. Obviously, this guy lives in his own head. Then I phrase this. I find someone who's a sex worker. I pay them to be all right, my friend is getting married soon, so I need you to have sex with him. But it's not exactly all that it seems. This person's down for anything because they're open-minded and they are not shamed by this sort of stuff. God bless them. So I get a hotel, but bunch of cameras in it. I get him there. I get the woman in there, and I order some Pizza Hut to them and some RC Cola and even do some buffalo wings beforehand. So there, and there's a little Ron Rico to get them hot and horny. They start doing it. She ties him up 90s, 80s style. You know what I mean? Another restraining of him. And she says, I'm going to show you the time of his life. I come in and I sit in the cuck chair with a flashlight You know what I mean? And I'm just flashing it in his face so he can't see who I am.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm like directing her and to like pleasure him to the point of climax, but he can't. But just before he's about to finish, you know what I mean? So he is just being tortured,
edging his ass,
edging for hours and hours. I'm doing crystal meth in the corner, and the prostitute's also doing crystal meth with me, and we're like having sex, doing sex stuff, but it's really like a torture situation with him. And he loses touch with reality at some point, and we start blowing crystal meth in his face, and he gets addicted to it. And it basically, it's a thing where it's like, by trying to ruin him, I ruin myself. Like, I get addicted to crystal meth. I ended up being stuck in this hotel with these 2 other people, and we just don't want the party to end.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So it's that sort of thing where it's like I get too deep by seeking out revenge, I actually destroy myself.
Yeah.
It's like he who holds anger is like holding hot rock in hand. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Confucius say.
Yeah.
So, I learned my lesson in that situation.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as revenge.
Yeah. No, you really, you sacrifice a piece of yourself spiritually. There's no way to take the high road.
You can't get back.
And
You can't get
punishing
back.
a guy. No. That's cool though. I like it. And I like your first scenario. I know you kind of glazed over the ritual sacrifice thing, but I like the idea of doing stuff like that, because you call in the Dark Prince to kind of play backup for you. Like you're doing it in his name, so you kind of have cover. You know what I mean?
Oh, because it's like not
bad.
It's not you for real,
right? It's not. No, you're doing it in his name, and anything that's bad that's happened to you, you kind of have a wink and a nod deal with the man downstairs.
Yeah.
To get you out of whatever pinch, because you did him a solid by feeding him the blood of this dude.
That's contributing.
I'm not exactly sure how it works.
You contribute to his legend. You do something in his honor. It gives him more power. It makes him. He's like Freddy Krueger. The more people are afraid of him, the more power he has.
You curry a little bit of favor. Maybe you get yourself a raise, a promotion, whatever. You dabble in that world. You get. I'm sure there's some recourse in the afterlife, but whatever. That's cool though. I like your. I mean, I picture you, him, and the sex worker just kind of melding into one, just glob of pleasure and impulse.
But that's poison.
Yeah.
That is in a way summoning the devil in a different way. Sure.
Yeah. So I was thinking. So there we are. We're at the beach. This guy's like, excuse me, I can't let you guys play on the surfboards. And you get up and you're like, you fucking piece of shit. Like, what the fuck? You can't talk to us like that. I'm like, Mike, settle down. It's not this guy's fault. He's a fuck. It's not this guy's fault that he has to come out here and he has to police the beach and tell all these people to get off the boat. He doesn't want to do that. You don't have to take your anger out on him. It's not his fault that he's got a fucked up face and that he's can't seem to stop sweating. It's not his fault that I can smell him from here. It's not his fault that his coworker is so embarrassed by his presence that as soon as he turns his back to her, she's making the gagging motion, putting her finger down her mouth. It's not his fault that he lives a lowly, pathetic life, devoid of any kind of real joy, and seeing joy in these children
family
fills him with, his family does not respect him at all. And instead of coming over and being like, hey, how's it going? Yeah, this is the surfboard. You take it out there, you surf around, you have fun. Isn't that cool?
That would have been fucking awesome.
I tell you what, I got to take these surfboards up on this thing, and so I'm gonna, I need to take them away from you, but these things are really fun, and you should do it one day. Blah blah blah. How fun would that be? I'm saying this all out loud, like really taking a bunch of digs at him and telling him how to do his job and shit like that. And I'm like, and also he's got a broken nose. And he's like, oh, I don't have a broken nose. And my back is facing him, and I'm looking at you in the eyes, and I say, 1, 2, 3, and we both turn around and pop him in the face at the same time. We're
Oh
like,
my God.
let's get out of here. And we go running down the beach. We pick up our daughters and we're like laughing and doing cartwheels and shit. And we go back to our wives. We're like, we gotta go, honey. We gotta go. I don't care. I'll explain later. Get your shit. We gotta go. And like we're holding all of our beach stuff, under our hands. And I have my daughter, and she is laughing her ass off. She thinks it's the funniest thing. Your daughter laughing her ass off. She thinks it's absolutely hilarious. Our wives are like, oh, what did they get into now? And we're like, this guy is like writhing around in pain because we broke his nose. In punching him, we both like split our knuckles, so we have blood just like pouring out of our hands,
Yeah.
And we just get into our cars and we peel it out of there. You in your car, you back into another car and knock it up into like a cookout that's happening and like knock over their grill. I back into a guy on his bike and send him flying. He's okay. He's just has a broken leg.
Yeah.
And we just peel out of there. And we're just cackling. You have a gun in your glove box and you start shooting it up in the air.
You have like one of those like Jeeps with like 4 big wheels on it.
Yeah.
It goes vroom vroom.
Yeah.
And your wife's hanging out of the back of it, but like is going woo. You know what I mean? She's scared, but she's also loves the thrill, which is why she's with you to begin with.
Right.
You never know what's going to happen. It's an exciting ass life.
Yeah. And so I thought that'd be cool. And we just go, we don't even take that. We just peel straight through the park. You know what I mean? And we're like racing. We're like looking at each other like, oh, who's gonna get there first?
Yeah.
And our families are just having a hell of a time. We blast right through a soccer game, go right through a birthday. Like a guy is in a walker and he has to like jump out of the way. And we hit Lakeshore Drive and get out of the car, and we're just like laughing and patting each other on the back and like high-fiving and shit.
And it's like, wow, I haven't felt like that since high school. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because we're high school buddies, and it's like, it's something we would have done in high school or something.
Yeah. And then we see like eight squad cars go blazing by us with their sirens on, like going to the beach where we just punched the guy.
We're not worried about it.
No, we're like, oh, we gotta get out of here. And then we go and we have Italian beef and sausage combos.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like where
Chicago style hot dogs.
We definitely get food afterwards. Yeah, I was thinking of the Wiener Circle
Polish
or
sausages.
something very like Wrigleyville.
And we, how like two people will drink a glass of champagne by like wrapping their arms around each other. Like they hook their arms around each other and then drink the glass. We do that with a hot dog.
Okay, yeah.
And we both take bites out of
Our
a hot
wives are
dog.
tan as fuck. You know what I mean? They're just basically, they look like hot dogs because they're so tan.
Yeah, and they're passing around. Yeah,
they're drunk.
They're passing around a water bottle full of vodka. Yeah, vodka and Sprite.
Right. It's scary.
They're tan as shit.
And if we saw them in real life, like it'd be really scary. The energy coming off of them would be terrifying. And you'd be like,
yeah,
it's intense.
Yeah, our kids are asleep in the car. It's like we're still out with them, even though it's like 11 o'clock at night.
Okay, yeah,
Like we haven't gone home yet, and they're just like, they're not asleep in the car, but they're just like asleep on the we're at like an outdoor patio, or like one of those picnic table things.
That's always crazy.
And they're just like sleeping on the bench. Yeah. Anyways, I thought that'd be cool.
That sounds pretty cool. That's exciting, exhilarating. We get revenge. We endanger other people's lives. The guy, I don't think he's gonna be mouthing off like he was to us ever again.
No, and like
I think the woman, his coworker, was probably just laughing when he fell on the floor. He's like bleeding. She's like laughing.
She was cheering us on. She was like, she was mouthing, "Thank you, thank you," as we were running off. And you blow her a kiss, and she's like, like lost in all this violence is the fact that I just dressed him down. I just like cut him deep. I ethered his ass while I was talking to you before we punched him in the face.
You took him apart piece by piece, made him feel horrible, made all these assumptions about him. You don't know anything about this guy.
Never met him before in my life before that moment. but I know his type.
Okay, yeah, you think so? See, now I'm starting to have like empathy for him.
Yeah, he's probably. I mean, a guy like that has got to live. He's he can't be happy.
Well, what are you, Mr. Sunshine? What are you, fucking super duper happy or something?
No, that's how I know.
Oh,
you know what I mean? You spot it, you got it.
Oh, okay.
Like, I know this guy. Like, I could see getting pissed off and telling a bunch of just precious, adorable children not to play on a piece of equipment that can clearly handle being played with.
A gorilla could have played with that stuff for years, and it would have been fine.
Oh, man.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
Fuck Montrose Beach. I'm never going back there ever again as long as I live. The people
rest
who work,
in piss.
The people who work there, you need to start thinking about hiring different people with people skills, people who like people. I mean, I don't know what you're hoping to encounter on the beach other than sand and people.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I'm looking for work, so let me know if you guys want to hire me as like a consultant or something, and we can put this behind all of us, and we can get this
it could be like
bad apple out of there.
Customer experience consultant.
I wish.
So I have a fantasy. Do you have a fantasy?
Yeah. Of course
Besides the one we just described.
I'm full of them.
Can I go first?
First, I want to say something. Let me just get this off my chest really quick. I know you and John don't like me. You guys have never liked me. I've always got that sense right off the bat. And I know it's because, I think about myself all the time. You know what I mean? Like, that's me. I'm always thinking about myself, my next move, what I'm going to do. So I think that's kind of my magical power. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, if you guys don't like me, whatever, I think we can, like, keep working on this show or whatever it is. But, like, I just want you guys to know that. Like, it's fine. Whatever. I don't care. If John doesn't want to record with me, if that's why he's not here today, he only picks days to record when I'm not available, that's cool. It's noted, man.
I appreciate your professionalism.
Thanks, man.
How'd it feel to say that?
It doesn't feel good, dude. It actually makes me feel worse.
Really?
Yeah, I have anxiety. I have depression, anxiety. So
it must be hard on your family.
Yeah, it's really hard on them. I mean, I'm always lashing out at them. I like have narcissistic tendencies too, so that doesn't help either. It's just been a rough summer,
Man, I'm just dreading the day that your daughter finds out that her dad has depression.
Yeah, I keep trying to tell her, but my wife keeps stopping me. Like, I keep using dolls and doing like role playing, like I'm sad, and she'll be like, Daddy, why are you sad? And I'll be like, because I have something called depression. My wife will overhear this because she's always watching me whenever I'm alone with a kid, like a hawk. It actually doesn't happen that often. I'm like not around my kid that often because I'm always like working on the podcast. Or I'm
taking walks.
Taking walks. I'm on the internet. I also do like a lot of fitness stuff because I find that like exercising, doing cold baths helps with that sort of stuff. So I'm not really with the kid very much at all by any means.
Sure.
I do a lot of like online shopping and stuff like that. Anyways, what's your fantasy? I guess we should get to that.
So I'm a big city detective, state work for the state. They call me in at the like crazy fucked up cases, like homicide cases that they just can't seem to solve. Just ones that are almost impossible to solve. My clearance rate isn't very high, but I'm a pro. I'm coming off the heels of a couple of cases that I just could not figure out. They're just left unsolved. And it's really weighing on me, busted up my confidence pretty bad. I'm pretty shook from this losing streak that I'm on. I'm talking like a couple of years. It all started when I was called to a Navy boat that was docked off the coast of Texas. And they call me in, and I go inside, and I'm like walking into like the area where they all sleep, like the bunks and shit, and there's just like a rookie detective in the corner puking. There's guys with like handkerchiefs over their noses, and it just smells like complete shit. And I walk into the room, and I see a bunch of just blood everywhere. And a bunch of these guys, these seamen, sailors, somebody was feeding them saltpeter, which suppresses your erection. And they got blue balls so bad and for so long because they couldn't get it up that their nut sacks ruptured, almost not in unison, but like one after the other. And like 13 sailors died in one night of blood loss. And it was a huge tragedy, made national news. I was on the case. There's a lot of pressure on me to solve it, to get to the bottom of this. How could this happen? Who poisoned these guys? What's going on? How do their nutsacks pop? But I had nothing. I could find nothing. I couldn't even find a patsy to pin it on. Huge embarrassment to the force. So now I get sent to all these shit cases. They know they're not going to be solved, and they just need to send somebody out there. So I get a call, and I go out to the middle of nowhere in some small town out in Texas. And there's been a series of deaths, just kind of unexplained deaths, where a bunch of women in a community have died. And it raised some eyebrows, and so they sent me out there to investigate. It's not really a homicide yet, but it's just, figure out what's going on here. So I go out, I get a hotel room on the outside of town, call up my friend who's like a real high-end coroner in the city. Like he's going to be overseeing this one from like a medical perspective, looking at the bodies, seeing if he can figure anything out. All the bodies have already been shipped to the capital to undergo complete evaluation. And so I'm at the hotel, and I get a knock on my door, and it's this this kind of small but very handsome, put together older gentleman, and in a like a bolo tie, cowboy hat, really nice looking outfit, and a whole bunch of just clean cut, young, blonde dudes with and they're carrying like flowers and other gifts, and they knock on my door and they say, "We heard you came out to investigate the deaths of these women, and we really appreciate that you coming out here, and we want to let you know that we're going to cooperate in any way we can. My name is Colonel Tim. I'm the mayor of this town, and I'm also the pastor of this local denomination of this church. And this church is one of a kind. We practice our own kind of Christianity here. We forefathers moved out here to practice this faith, and we've kept it going. And we'd like to invite you to a cookout to welcome you into town, give you all the support you need." I'm like, "Oh, that's very nice of you. It's really not necessary, but why not? I'll take you up on it." So put the flowers in some water, they give me some beef jerky, some other stuff. And I'm immediately like, whenever I get that kind of reception, I'm like, something's funny about that. Usually people aren't that friendly, especially to law enforcement such as myself. So, but I go to the cookout the next day, and I walk in, and it's just, everybody is very stiff and rigid, and they have these plastered smiles on their face, but you can tell underneath that is this like crazy tension that's going on, and I'm greeted by like this guy, Colonel Tim, and a couple other elders, and they're like, "Come on over here, I want to show you, we've got a goat on a spit." And there's this goat that's just been roasting on the spit, and it's just like red and like kind of yellowy and burnt, and just looks like very bizarre and satanic, and all the women are looking down on the ground. Not a single woman. They're all dressed, in those very long dresses that cover their ankles and their wrists, and none of them are making eye contact with me. It's very bizarre. And the Colonel Tim introduces me to his wife, and she's one of those, very fair-skinned, curly blonde hair. Clearly she's like 15, 20 years younger than Colonel Tim, and has the look of somebody that's just been just kind of emotionally and mentally subjugated for a long, long time, as do all the women in this community. And his wife is looking at the ground again. She's like, very nice to meet you. I'll be happy to help you in any way that I can to solve these murders, and I want to let you know that the solution to all these problems that you're going to face here is in our commandments. The solution is in our commandments. And she looks up at me while she's saying that, and she makes eye contact with me, and I'm like, is that a signal? She's like trying to tell me something. And so I'm like, whatever. I kind of keep that little nugget in the back of my head somewhere. I'm like, there might be a clue here, whatever. So I go along, I eat myself some goat. There's a whole bunch of corn around. There's some games. There's people. There's a game where a bunch of kids run around and try to tie each other, like hog tie each other. It's like a rodeo thing, but like the younger kids try to hog tie the older kids. And the whole time while I'm eating, I keep glancing over at Colonel Tim's wife, and I catch her giving me the eye, just like looking at me for a little bit too long, and then looking back down. I see her biting her lip a little bit. And so Colonel Tim and and a couple of the younger members of this church, if you even want to call it that, take me onto a hot air balloon. And they're like, we're going to take you up in the air and give you a view of the land. And so a couple of these bigger guys and Colonel Tim take me up there, and there I am. I'm floating above the ground, and I'm looking at the sunset. And Colonel Tim is like, well, I just got to be honest with you, sir. There's not a lot to see here. People die, and people die seemingly for no reason sometimes. And it's really not worth looking into. And I think you ought to just close this case up and go home. I mean, heck, people die for all sorts of reasons. And they kind of walk up closer to me, and here I am on the edge of this hot air balloon, getting clearly intimidated by these beefy guys and Colonel Tim telling me I just need to leave town. And I'm like, I think I know what you're saying here, Colonel, and I'll take it under consideration. And he's like, see that you do. So we land, and I go home, and I crack open the book of this religion. There's one in the hotel, and I start looking at the 10 Commandments, and they're all just like basically the same stuff you'd find in any Christian religion, the basic 10 Commandments. But there's an 11th commandment, and it's no woman who is of this faith shall be able to queef. And I don't know why, it seems bizarre, but I'm like, okay, that's something's there. There's something different about this than the other Christian religions. And the colonel's wife told me that the answer is in the commandments. So the next day I go over to the church, and Colonel Tim isn't there, and his wife is there, and she walks up to me, and she's like, kind of has a moment of honesty, where she's trying to connect with me in kind of a desperate way. And she's like, listen, you have to do something. These women here, they're dying. I can't tell you too much, but what I can tell you is, and then Colonel Tim walks into the door, and he's like, Luann, her name's Luann. He's like, Luann, are you bothering our guest? And she's like, no, sir, I'm telling him that you weren't here. And she slips me a piece of paper, and I grab it. And she scurries away, and Colonel Tim is like, I thought I made myself perfectly clear yesterday that we weren't interested in having you here anymore, and that the deaths are completely accidental. There's nothing to see here. And I'm like, okay, I see what you're saying. And so I go home, and I look at the piece of paper. I go back to my hotel room, and the piece of paper says pussy failure on it. I'm like, pussy failure? So I call up my friend who's the coroner, and I'm like, hey, what do you know about pussy failure? And the coroner's like, well, I've heard about it a couple times. I know I've heard some rumors about it, that if you, just like the nutsack situation with the Navy guys that you encountered a few years back, and their nutsacks exploded. If you don't queef, you have a risk of having pussy failure, and that could be fatal. I'm like, oh my God, I know what's happening. So I go out to my car to confront the colonel, and I see that all my tires have been popped, and there's a brick through my window, and it says there's a note attached to it through my car window, and it says "Go home, outsider." And I'm like, okay, I see what kind of time we're on now. So I walk back into my room, the lights are out, and I say out loud, I was wondering when I was going to see you again. Flick the lights on. It's the colonel's wife. She's waiting for me in there. And I say, I've figured it out. The only thing I need now is a little bit of proof. And she's like, wire me up. I'll get him to confess. I'm like, okay, you got it. And we embrace, and that connection just flares up. And we start making out, and things are getting hot and heavy. And I tell her, as she starts to reach into my pants and move her hand around my penis and testicles, grazing my taint and back around my testicles and my penis again, she notices that I am not erect. And I tell her, I'm like, I haven't been able to, since the incident in the Navy boat, I haven't been able to get it up. And I haven't been able to get it up because I haven't solved any case since then. It's been killing me inside. I feel like I'm not adequate in any way to do anything. I feel like I'm a shell of a person. So I'm not going to be able to make love to you as attractive as you are. I just can't do it. And she's like, that's okay. Don't worry about that. Let me worry about that. So we spend the whole rest of the night into the early morning just 69ing, and I'm going down on her in that hotel room bed, and she's moving her mouth around my limp penis and testicles for what seems like hours. I put on a wire, and she goes back to her home, much to the rage and insane jealousy of her husband, Colonel Tim. And he is yelling at her. He's like, where were you? I ought to exile you. You didn't come home last night. And I'm in the car listening through the wire. And she's like, you're killing these women by not letting them queef. And he's like, I'm the one who's telling them not to queef, and they better listen to me. And if you don't listen to me, you're going to end up dead, just like all those other women. I'm the one who's in control here. I'm the one who has say over who lives and who dies. And at that moment, I'm like, I got him. So I kick in the door, and I'm like, the jig is up, Colonel. I got you. I got you dead to rights. And I hold up the wire. And he pulls out a pistol, and he's like, you don't have me dead to rights. In fact, I would say quite the opposite is true. And so he raises the gun right to my head, and he's getting ready to pull the trigger. And his wife, Luann, lunges at him, pulls the gun away for a second, and he hits her across the face. And she falls to the ground. And it gives me just the window to dive at him, and I grab the gun. And mind you, I haven't been hard in years. I haven't ejaculated or anything in years. So I'm holding his hand, and he's not a big guy, and I'm forcing it back slowly against his will. The gun, forcing it into his mouth, down his throat. He's gagging that. I wrap my finger around the trigger, and I blow the back of his head out. And I have this little shudder of just like joy. I'm like, oh, the shudder of pleasure. Like, boy, did that feel good. I feel the warmth of the gun in my hand, and I just feel the life just drain out of his body. And I tilt his head to the side, so the blood just leaks out of his ear and his mouth and drips down. And there's just brains all over the wall, and I go, oh man. Oh, that was a rush. And just then, all the elders come running in, and they've got bats and like broken bottles and shit, and they're like, we're gonna fucking kill you. You killed our leader. We're gonna fucking kill you. And I'm like, fuck you guys. You know what I mean? Like, you're basically, causing the deaths of all these women. And they're like, you're not gonna get out of here alive. So I go running outside, sprinting to the hot air balloon, right? That's over in the corner, and I've got the tape with the confession on it. And I hop into the air balloon, and I hit the gas on that thing, and it starts to slowly rise into the air, just out of the reach of this like mob of religious fanatics. And I notice my penis starts to become engorged like it hasn't in years. Here I am. I finally solved the case, and I have the capacity now, and the urge and the horniness just returns into my body, and all this night of 69ing with this woman and all this pornography that I've watched to try to give myself erections just all comes rushing back. And now I'm batched up, right? I haven't come in God knows how long. So I drop my pants, and I just start fucking raining down just fucking demon loads on this rabble of religious guys, blasting just like 30 milliliter gobs of cum on these guys, and telling them, I'm like, fuck all you guys, fuck you guys, you know what I mean? Like, get the fuck out of my face with this shit. And like just rope, like every pulsation of my penis is just a fucking gigantic glob, raining down fucking 30s on them like Steph Curry. And these things are just ridiculous Montessori loads that are falling, and it gets to the point where they're just covered in so much cum. It's in their eyes, it's in their ears, it's just they're struggling to get this cum off their faces. And I see all these women just emerge from the tree line with pitchforks and clubs and all this other stuff, and they just beat these guys down, taking back their community. And it's just a fucking bloodbath. They're showing absolutely no mercy, gutting these guys, bleeding them out, pulverizing them, like beating them past into death, and continuing, just letting the rage consume them. As I float away, I'm watching this, and the woman, Luann, just blows a kiss at me, and I grab it and put it in my heart, and I take that balloon back to the Capitol. That's it. That's the end of the fantasy.
Wow, that's really incredible. Lots of build-up. Slow burn.
Mm-hmm.
What's a Montessori load? What does that mean? Because Montessori is like
a
way of teaching, right?
Yeah. So
okay.
John and I were taught last episode. John and I were talking about big loads,
Yeah.
And he was like, "You just a big fucking dummy load, just a stupid ass dummy load."
Okay.
And I was like, I started thinking like, I was listening to your fantasy about the friend, and you said that you had an education that was, you're basically brain damaged, like as though you went to a public school or Montessori school.
Yeah.
So I thought it'd be like just a big dumbass Montessori load, shooting on all these guys.
Okay. That clears that up. Okay, so
does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes too much sense. Just trying to make sure my levels are good here. Okay, so I took a couple notes.
Good.
So the Texas, one of my notes is, so you're this boat with all the sailors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Someone's feeding them saltpeter. Is that a real thing?
Yeah. It suppresses your erection. They give it to, used to be a treatment for people that were like sex offenders and shit.
Weird.
Dead ass. Look it up.
Dang. Okay, so all these guys.
I do my research when I fantasize, Mike.
I'm not trying to challenge you. I just have some questions. I don't understand what I fucking meant. You don't have to get all fucking defensive. See, this is why I think that you and John don't like me. I ask you some questions and you get all fucking weird about it. Okay, so these guys are all dead from giant balls, and there's a scene that you describe of a bunch of guys that their balls are really big and they're like dead. And I wrote a note to this. Why would you want us? Why do you like this?
Just how sexy is that? You know what I mean? Like you've been denied pleasure to the point where your body can no longer physically take it.
Yeah.
And this cum, like a lot of what something my older brother told me one time is that if that cum doesn't have a place to go, it's gonna get out somehow. Whether that's through rupturing, or you internalizing it and it going into your body, into your internal organs, or into your bloodstream. There's all sorts of different ways you can die from that. And it just so happened that those guys were denied pleasure to the point, just like what you talked about before, about being edged, to the point where it killed them.
Right. And this kind of like is you, the character. Like you haven't really, not you, but the character, the fantasy is 69ing for like several hours. Now imagine.
That's right.
Imagine 69ing for several hours.
Mm-hmm.
And just how much stamina, how much smell.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's drool and stuff coming out of both of you guys.
Yeah.
And sweat, and you're in this holding position for so long, flaccid penis,
Yeah.
and that doesn't work. So this is right after she somehow takes her hand and moves it beyond your penis, past your balls, just touches the taint.
Yeah.
Just grazes it and comes back up. But anyways, you guys 69 for a really long time, can't get it up. Then it's really interesting. It's like the only way you actually can get hard is by sticking a long pistol, the only gun mentioned in the entire fantasy, down the throat of a man, a threatening man, and blowing his brains all over the wall.
Yeah.
Okay. Then you get so horny that you then go into a hot air balloon and you ejaculate on these guys, this angry gang of oppressive males.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That are suppressing women's right to pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
And you fly to DC. It's just like subconsciously so pertinent to our times because Kamala's on the ticket now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's like, this is what we need, in a way.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's kind of like the history of America in a way.
It really is. All the way from the religious persecution to the frontiers to the oppression.
Yeah, pure.
It's all wrapped up in there. I want you to imagine something for me real quick. It just came to this wasn't part of my fantasy, but you just evoked it in me.
Shoot.
There you are, lying on a bed, a hotel room bed. The TV is on, whatever you want, whiling out. And you're laying on your side watching TV. There's a kind of on top of a woman. Your face is in her crotch area. And your head is tilted so you can watch the TV.
Oh.
And your hips are shifted so your penis is by her face, but she can still kind of look over and see the TV too. And casually
that is so complicated.
pleasure you.
Yeah.
It's not comfortable, really,
Yeah.
But you can see a world in which
I think you need
you could
two
casually lay
TVs.
around.
No, I hear you. I'm sorry. Go on.
Or you could be watching the TV through the
lights
mirror
are off
or whatever.
All the lights are off. You guys are mindlessly watching like a walk through Tokyo, an hour-long YouTube video of someone walking around in Tokyo while it's snowing.
Yeah, going to a cat
Just
cafe,
idly
getting ramen,
idly pleasuring each other.
Yeah,
Not talking.
And you can
nothing.
take breaks and shit. We probably smoke some cigarettes. We probably order some room service.
No, I get that.
Just
that sounds really hot, man.
So it's not like a marathon of 4 hours
No,
straight of 69ing.
It's just lazy sex.
Yeah.
Wow, that's something else. That's so
just
lazy.
laying around and just enjoying each other's company and bodies.
Uh-huh.
We're just laying around naked, and what we have access to is each other's genitals.
Yes.
I can't penetrate her. Probably end up finger blasting her, and but whatever. That's just what happened.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That just came to you just now, straight for real. That just came into your head right now.
What?
You just thought of that right now. You didn't write that down.
The 69 thing?
Yeah,
or this
yeah,
whole
yeah,
fantasy?
yeah. You just thought that up.
Which part of it?
The part where you're the two people laying around.
Yeah, I just thought that up.
Wow. Okay. Sorry, I'm getting my stuff in order.
Is that your iPad?
Yeah, I have an iPad. I love looking at it. It is so cool. It's like looking at social media. It's like the IMAX of social media. You know, the pictures don't need to be small. They can be big.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Okay. All right, you ready?
Yeah, hit me.
Okay, so the inspiration for this was I went to the zoo with my family.
Yeah, my man.
Here the zoo's free, Lincoln Park Zoo.
Yeah.
And if you haven't been there, you guys got to check it out. Go there early, get some cheese fries, get some Coca-Cola. Don't be shy. The gorillas want to see you. There's polar bears, everything. And in fact, the polar bear comes into play in this fantasy. So I got some notes here, but I'm going to kind of go off the dome, okay? So I work at the zoo, and I'm kind of like, I'm a manager of like a general maintenance. I'm in charge of all these like teenagers and young 20-somethings that are just working at the zoo. It's like their summer job or whatever. But I take it really seriously, but I'm, I'm stuck there, but they're all going to move on to better things. But I take the job very seriously. And I'm always giving people a hard time about how lazy they are. And when I know, like, my boss doesn't even like want to be alive or work there. You know what I mean? He just took the job because he needs the money. He has a kid. He doesn't care about the zoo. He knows it's a meaningless, if not unethical thing to be running. But I ignore all those clues he keeps giving me, and I act like he is like an older brother that I'm trying to impress or something. So when he's around, I make like a big production of cleaning. I only can like clean like one thing at a time. So like there'll be one garbage can, and I'll just like clean that for like 6 hours straight when they're in town or even present, because my boss probably just works remotely and just like goes to the cafe and just like probably takes care of his kid all day for the most part. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh.
But meanwhile, when he's not there, I'm just really running the clock out, and I hit on nannies that are there, like watching kids. And I actually rack up a lot of sexual experience with these nannies, but I have a hard time connecting with them because a lot of them don't speak English, and we just come from different places. And I'm actually from a rich family, but they've cut me out of the inheritance, so I have to like work this job. But I know like one day I'm gonna get a bunch of money once my dad kicks the bucket. So one way I like hit on the nannies is I'll spot them. I can just kind of tell it's like, that's not your kid. So I'll go in front of like an exhibit. It'll be like different size paws of animals, and I'll be like, oh, this is really cool. This is incredible. When I see them coming, so I'll be hamming it up. I'll be like putting my hand on there or whatever. When they get near, I'll like take my phone out and keep trying to do selfies, but dropping the phone, like looking like a real dumbass. And then I'll ask if they can take a picture of me, and they'll say yes. And I say, oh, this is for my ex-wife and kid. They're gonna love it. I don't see them very often. They live in another place. I'm actually pretty lonely. And this just like kicks off a rapport with them. I'm actually a really good father, but things don't always work out the way you want them to. You know what I mean? Whatever. Start a rapport. It's about a 25% success rate of at least getting a phone number. It's really a numbers game. The kids that work under me don't respect me in any way, but I'm act like a real hard ass. They know that I'm like reading. I'm just like looking at my phone in different areas when I'm not watching them. But we have a meeting like in the beginning of every day, and I act like a drill sergeant, and I'm just yelling at them and stuff, getting in their faces and like basically abusing them. And when the boss is there, like I really go off, like really hard. Like I punch one of them in the stomach. I punch one of the kids in the stomach, and I'm like, because he's mouthing off, and like the boss has to pull me off of him because you just can't be assaulting 20-somethings on the job. But I'm trying to do it to impress them. I'm like, these kids just make me so goddamn angry. I just want them to work hard. I start crying in front of them, stuff like that. Very emotionally insane. One day they hired this woman who's like, she's a little bit older. You can tell she's a little bit wiser. And she, right off the bat, she's got my number. You know what I mean? She's stunning. And I didn't hire her. But the first day she's working there, I'm like, we got a new employee. Her name is Sandra. And she comes up and is telling everyone about herself during our morning meeting. And I can't even look at her because she's so beautiful. And she keeps trying to get contact from me. Like she knows she's like got me. Like I can't talk to her. I never talk to her. I never give her eye contact because I'm just afraid of how much power she would have over me. So there's a new employee. I'm walking around with the boss, and I notice that the polar bear cage is really dirty, and that I start flipping out, even though this guy doesn't give a shit. And I get on the walkie-talkie. I ask one of my employees, "Get your ass over here." What do you want me for? And I'm like, "Just get over here." You know what I mean? They come over, and I'm like, "I want that polar bear cage clean now." You know what I mean? They're like, "But the polar bears are in there." Yeah. I'm like, "Did I ask you?" You know, I'm yelling at them. I want it clean every day. Sure. So I prioritize this one thing arbitrarily to have this polar bear thing cleaned all the time. Whereas the rest of the zoo doesn't need any maintenance, really. It's just pretty like self-sufficient. Sure enough, one of the kids gets hurt. Polar bear mauls them and they go to the hospital. But I'm like still sticking firm. Like, I don't care. We're still cleaning this thing. I know this is a setback, but this is my thing. Okay, we need to make sure that this polar bear glass is clean. And I can see they're starting to revolt against me. They start yelling at me at the meeting, which I have every morning. And Sandra's like, everyone calm down, okay? We'll make it work. Just follow me. So she starts taking a leadership role. She looks at me and gives me a wink. And I'm like, okay. Everyone's huddling out the door to go clean the polar bear thing, of which she's like delegating responsibilities and safety protocol. She looks back at me and she says, "You're welcome." I don't say anything. I'm kind of pissed off and scared. One day, and the polar bear thing is like nice and clean now. One day she's doing like highly erotic exercises on the lawn, like wearing like super hot clothes, and she's fine as hell. And she's doing these like crotch thrust things, like just like to the sky. Yeah. And I'm like, oh shit, and I'm coming back from lunch. I'm like, oh shit, this is the only way back to the zoo. I have to walk across this field. So I walk and I'm trying to ignore her, and I have like headphones on. I'm just trying to look straight ahead and like not blinking. It's very unnatural. She's like, "Hey, where are you going?" And I'm pretending. She's like, "Hey, where are you going?" And she like trips me as I'm walking because she's doing like a crab walk exercise, so she can like easily trip me. And I like fall, and I'm like, "Oh, hey, I didn't see you." She starts asking me about like me and myself, and I tell her I have a big weekend coming up where I'm going to be cleaning out my email account, and I'm telling her like how I'm going to do it. I'm going to get power, like energy drinks. I'm unplugging my phone. I'm going to zero in, clean out my email folders, organize it, and everything, going on and on and on. And she's acting really interested, and I find myself like talking a whole lot because she's just asking me questions, showing interest, and she's so beautiful that I just like naturally I'm just like, you know what I mean? I'm just like so happy to be in her presence or whatever. And then they start calling me in the walkie-talkie that I need to like go pick up some puke or something like that. And I'm like, oh shit, I gotta go. And as I'm going back, I see that the polar bear thing is just like a little steamy, a little bit dirty. And so after like getting, after she was talking to me, I'm like afraid because I'm like showing weakness and stuff. I start screaming into the walkie-talkie. I'm like, who's the littlest one on the crew? Bring me him. I want him in there cleaning this. And I lower him in there on a rope, and he starts cleaning the polar bear cage. Polar bear jumps up, starts biting him and throwing him around, playing with him and stuff. They have to tranquilize the polar bear. And so another kid's hurt. And I'm like, this sucks. I'm like, whatever, I'm going home. I got the weekend off. You guys take care of this. I go home, and the next day, in the middle of the day, I turn on my computer, and I have like 3 monitors and stuff. I'm like, all right, because I'm a big gamer. And I'm like, it's time to clean out my email messages. And I click on my email. It opens up, and there's an email and it says special message for you, Steven. I double click on it and all these like spray painted smiley faces start popping up all over my screen, like surrounding me. And I'm like, oh my God. It's showing up on my phone and there's messages flashing on it that are like, we are going to get you. You know what I mean? Justice will be served. The wicked shall be punished. Stuff like that. My electricity goes out. Okay, so I'm really scared. My 2 roommates are out of town, so I'm flipping out. And I hear a noise like in my bedroom, and I go there and I have like a baseball bat, and I'm like, is anyone there? Anyone there? Long story short, someone wearing a black mask puts it over my head, tasers my neck, I shit myself, I come in my pants. I wake up, you know the story. I'm in like an empty room, you don't know where the fuck I am, and they're sexually torturing me for like a really long time. And I realized that it's got to be my employees, okay? So they're doing like really hot stuff to me. Like it'll be like 2 women making out, and then they'll both be giving me oral sex at the same time. Meanwhile, there'll be a guy on the side of my head. I'm tied down. And he's just masturbating, like sticking his penis in my ear. Another guy is sticking his penis on my forehead and just like, torturing me like that. So it's like pleasure and pain a little bit. There'll be like 3 girls that will have their butts out and they'll just be rubbing them around my face and stuff like that, while a guy is like on top of my erect penis and like inserting it in him, and while like another guy is pleasuring my scrotum with their mouth, stuff like that. And then they'll be like kind of like waterboarding me with their bodies and stuff. Like one guy is just like taking his body and just putting it over my face so I can't breathe, while 2 women are like taking turns riding me, stuff like that for a really long time. And I black out and I like have a flashback to when I was growing up. It's of my father. And he was elderly and had dementia, and he was a germaphobe, so he'd like never leave his room. I'd only see him like on the 2nd floor. It's the only time I would see him. I was basically raised by like the chauffeur, and the chauffeur had like an underling that he was always abusing and stuff. And I like first time I saw people having sex was the chauffeur and like one of his like girlfriends. Like I snuck in the back of the car and like stuck around and saw that. And when I come to, they're all gone. I'm like, was it a dream? I open up my emails and it's like a video of all of it. And it's so hot and so cool. Truly like sexual freedom, maximum sexual pleasure and freedom. Everyone was paying attention to me. You know what I mean? They brutalized me sexually. It was so cool. Obviously, this email goes to my boss. They fire me. Everyone knows. Everyone's seen the video. Okay, so there's this graphic video. It's sent to all the employees. And you can count like how many people... I get like reminders of like who's watched it and how long they watched. 50% of the people that worked at the zoo watched like 90% of the video. You know what I mean? Because it peters out near the end. And it's like a 2-hour long video, like pretty good production. So I get fired, needless to say. I'm like, I did something wrong. I fucked up. You know what I mean? I was not treating these guys right. And they found, God bless them, they found a way to show me the error of my ways. I go back to the zoo after getting married and having a kid with just like some nobody that I met like online dating. I was just like, let's just do this. Who gives a shit? And that sounds crazy. I just have a kid with someone. They're not that important to the story. And I go and back to the zoo once with my kid, and I'm looking around and I see everyone. A lot of the people are still there. And they don't look at me or anything like that. And I just think of like how much I missed working there. You know what I mean? How much I missed them and just like this great thing. They kind of did a great thing for me. They changed me. And I'm just sobbing as I'm pushing my kid around in the cart and stuff like that. Just like imagine seeing someone in front of like the gorilla who's like scratching their back and just like looking around. And there's a man there just like screaming and sobbing, like pounding the glass and like collapsing onto the ground while their kid is just sleeping in the carriage. It's like that. I like really hyperventilating and stuff. And as I'm walking out, I see Sandra, beautiful as the first time I saw her. And she gives me one little wink and continues sweeping up some garbage. and gets in a go-kart, and I just watch her drive away. It's a close-up of my face, just like you just see it all on my face, you know?
Yeah.
That's it.
Ugh, man. God, how fun, so I have so many thoughts. First of all, it's extremely hot. I can't even, I think I blacked out when you were describing the scene of all your subordinates sexually torturing you. It was so hot.
Thanks, man.
Couldn't focus, couldn't concentrate on anything. I had to just focus on breathing.
Yeah.
So I didn't pass out. And I thought it would be really, like, as you're describing this guy that you are, this just, person, your wishes, your dreams, like how you choose to use your time, building this very rich character. As you're hitting on these nannies, playing this numbers game, I thought it'd be really cool if, like, the selfie trick that's a great move. Who among us hasn't done that? Tried and true. I thought it'd be cool if, like, okay, you got the monkey exhibit and this nanny comes up and she's with a kid, and you're like, you get down on one knee and you're like, hey, you enjoying the zoo?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I work here. How would you like to see a sneak peek at a special part of the zoo that nobody gets to see? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you open, like, a utility room. There's, like, a boiler in there and nothing else, like a mop and shit. And you're like, this part of the room heats this entire section of the monkey house. How cool is that? This boiler right here, the water comes up, it gets heated, and it radiates and keeps the monkeys in these two cages warm. How cool is that? Something that's just in every single building and everywhere.
Yeah, that's cool.
And but you build it up like it's special access, and you melt the hearts of the nannies that you're, like, really taking time out of your day to show these kids the thing. And then I thought it was also cool, like, you get this video of you getting sexually tortured by all these just amazing people in your life, and it's cool, like, you can see how many people have watched it, but you can also see, like, where the video peaks, like the parts that people have skipped to that have watched it again.
Yeah, they have access to it forever.
Yeah, so, like, over time you can see how as it like trends different ways, like the parts that people keep skipping to.
That's good data.
Like the hottest parts in the video.
That's good data. Yeah, that's cool.
So I just really enjoyed this guy that you built, who's miserable, treats his employees like shit, hates his job. Lord knows what he did to get cut out of his family's money, but the highlight of his life is using the time when his roommates go out of town to clean out his email. Is like that's a kind of guy that if you end up being that kind of guy, just check out. There's nothing.
No way, man. No. I'm not gonna let you let those guys off that easy. They can turn it around. Anyone can turn it around.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I believe that people can turn it around. Doesn't matter how lonely you are, how you think about yourself. If you just take one step a day and just do a little bit something extra that you've always wanted to do, you're going to feel better about yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That dopamine level is going to be shooting through the roof if you start listening to what I'm saying right now. I listened to a Huberman Lab episode about dopamine. Okay. Have you heard of this guy, Huberman?
Yeah, he's got some really interesting ideas.
This man is fascinating. But he had a really good... he had a really interesting things to say about dopamine, okay? If you're spending all your time playing video games, that's a dopamine hit, okay? The thing about dopamine, you keep hitting that dopamine thing, you come down, man. You know what I mean? You can't be listening to Huberman all day long. That's a pleasurable thing. So you just gotta start thinking about, how can I turn it around? Don't listen to podcasts anymore. Okay, that skyrockets your dopamine. You're listening to this, you think you're getting aroused and stuff like that. This is essentially pornography. Okay, you wouldn't want these people who are addicted to pornography, you know what I mean? It's destroying society. I bet you any money, if Joe Biden wasn't addicted to pornography, he'd still be in the running. Now, God bless the way things worked out. I'm a big Kamala fan. She is my brat queen, and she is going to win. And my comments on the assassination attempt, mum's the word. I was so happy that people are finally standing up and seeing what they have to do. It's a good thing that people assassinated him. I know there's a lot of Democrats out there that are trying to save face and stifle their giggles and joy that they almost shot this man in the head in front of everyone on television.
People are finally starting to stand up to this bully.
Yeah.
You know?
And it is exciting. It's very exciting in here, and my dopamine levels are through the roof right now.
I gotta say, I'm glad that you're happy. I'm I'm a full blown Biden guy. I was screaming from the rooftops when they were talking about how he is brain dead, how he couldn't string sentences together, he's forgetting people's names, forgetting really basic stuff, checking all the boxes of early onset dementia, pretty convincingly, that really anybody could see. But I was cheerleading that he shouldn't drop out. It's unfair to say that he has dementia because nobody is his doctor or whatever. It's rude. And I was saying, I'm Biden or die. I ride with Biden. I'm never gonna back down from that, and I have to stick to my word. I have to stick to my guns. I'm not gonna vote for Kamala. I'm not gonna vote for anybody. I'm going to try to sabotage every opportunity I can. I see Kamala as the enemy, of Biden because effectively she's a usurper. And not because I particularly have any vested interest in how the election goes, but I just really talked a lot of shit, and now I have to back it up. So I don't want anybody calling me a coward or a flip-flopper or whatever.
So you're just not going to...
a lot of friends.
You're not going to vote, or you're not going to vote, or you're just going to do a write-in?
I'm going to write in Biden.
Okay, that's actually a good idea.
I lost a lot of really important people in my life, people that I'm counting on to take care of me in my old age.
Yeah.
Over this, so I can't back down now.
Yeah.
What would that make me look like?
Well, that's cool. I mean, I think that's a horrible
That's
idea.
how I understand politics.
I think it's a horrible, hateful idea, but whatever. Anyways, I don't really want to go off into politics. Thank you for your share. My point is anyone can turn it around. I thought things were pretty good. My dopamine level was really high when they almost exploded Donald Trump's head in front of everyone, his friends and family. And then Joe Biden dropped out, and then my dopamine level went even higher. Then they found out that it's going to be Kamala, and my dopamine level was so high I actually couldn't record last week because I was just so depressed because there was a drop. So imagine what that's like with politics, with pornography. I mean, or even like this podcast itself, which basically is pornography. You got to turn it off, and you got to just be. You know what I mean? Take your medicine. Your medicine is now at this point just doing normal things that people would do before iPhones.
I like that idea.
Thanks, man.
You've been doing a lot of really interesting research about your body and how the human body works. Really intrigued.
Yeah, the body's incredible. I've become more fascinated with troll anatomy.
Oh yeah,
troll biology.
Yeah.
I watched the new Troll movie, and it's really interesting stuff about these guys.
Yeah,
I don't know. I guess
it really take you behind the curtain on that third one.
Yeah. Looking at my notes, sorry. Okay, I think we did pretty good. I mean, let me say right off the bat, some people have been hesitant about sending us messages on our phone number, which is 312-767-7943. Call us, leave a message, give us any input, would be great to hear. Or you can email us at fantcastpod@gmail.com. That's fantcastpod@gmail.com. Please let us know what you're thinking and send us any fantasies or ideas or comments or anything like that Again, the phone number is 312-767-7943. You can keep it anonymous. We will not use your names.
Yeah, I think that's the hidden shame is the thing that's really keeping people from participating in that. They're afraid that we're gonna, put their sexual fantasies on blast. That's not the case. That's not the case at all.
That would be unethical.
Unethical, probably illegal.